Okay, everybody. The latest chapter of the Boruto manga is officially out. I think this is Boruto chapter 57. And this is the chapter where we are introduced to a brand new character, as well as getting some context for what some of the characters plan to do after the events with the fight with Ishiki Otsutsuki. So I'll get to the newest character later, but for now, let's go ahead and talk about the Five Kage Summit and something that went on, some of the conversation that went on between Naruto and Amado. So the Five Kage Summit have convened. They have talked about everything that happened between Naruto and Sasuke and Boruto Kawaki and Ishiki. And of course, they talked about Code and the fact that he is a potential threat in the future and what they plan to do with him. Now, okay, what did I think about everything? Well, there were some things that I liked, and there were some things that I kind of like. Again, it's really weird how there are a lot of similarities between the Boruto manga and the Dragon Ball Super manga because, interestingly enough, both of the chapters that were released, there were a lot of things that I liked, but there were a lot of things that I wouldn't really say I didn't like, but at the same time, I'm not gonna say I liked it. I want to wait and see where exactly they take it before I have my full judgment on whatever it is what it is that happened in this chapter that I'm a little iffy on. So let's talk about some things that I did like. I liked specifically the conversation between Amado and Naruto. I did like, and I also liked a lot of the interaction between Code and Ada, but like I said, I'm saving that for later. So for now, let's just go ahead and talk about the conversation between Naruto and, of course, the Five Kage-sama. So like I said, Naruto briefed them on everything that happened, and especially with Code. And he also briefed them on the fact that we need to stop them right now because other than just Code, there's also another Ten Tails out there. Like they told him about Code's plan to use either Boruto and Kawaki, feed either of them to the Ten Tails, and then grow another divine tree. And I like that we had Gara basically say that, are you honestly telling me that we have to fight that monster again? And then Naruto says, if we do everything we need to do, here's hoping that that won't be necessary. So I did like that little moment right there because I did think it was a nice callback to the fourth grade ninja war and of course them fighting the Ten Tails when Obito revived it. I did like that nice little callback to the fourth grade ninja war, even though it is still to this day probably the most hated arc of all of Naruto. But still, I did like that little callback. I'm not gonna lie. So after that, they do of course bring up the issue with Boruto and the fact that he has the karma and the possible threat about what might happen if Boruto gets taken over by Momoshiki and then gets taken out. Although one thing that was said here that I thought just didn't make any sense whatsoever is they called Boruto basically an Ishiki level threat. Now to me that made no goddamn sense because we know for a fact that karma we know that users of karma can draw on the power of the person who gave them the karma. In Boruto's case, it's Momoshiki, and in Kawaki's case, it was Ishiki. Now, Momoshiki was no joke. Don't get me wrong. Momoshiki was no joke. But you guys got to remember, Momoshiki is someone who, even after absorbing Kinshiki and became so much more powerful, even then got his ass kicked by Naruto and Sasuke working together. And you need to remember, Naruto and Sasuke were nowhere near their full power. Remember, Naruto had half of his chakra absorbed by Momoshiki, and Sasuke had most of his chakra drained when he opened that portal to whatever dimension they were taken to. And remember, it was decreased even more because he had to take people with him. He said in I think it was either in the movie or in the series where transporting other people uses up a lot of chakra of mine. So Sasuke again wasn't operating at 100%, and yet despite those disabilities, they still kicked his ass. Like Momoshiki still got his ass kicked by a weakened Naruto and Sasuke. So again, I that like that the fact that they say it's an Ishiki level threat. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I gotta disagree with that. That is not an Ishiki level threat. I'm sorry, Ishiki was way like Ishiki would make Momoshiki his bitch. Okay, let's be honest here. Momoshiki was trash. Momoshiki is fucking garbage. So I just thought it was really interesting that they basically equated Momoshiki to being an Otsutsuki, an Ishiki level threat. Again, not that Momoshiki isn't powerful, he is, but come on, don't equate him to Ishiki. He's just not, at least not in terms of power. So I just thought that was a little bit interesting. And they also did bring up an interesting point, which again I'm waiting to see where this goes. And it is an interesting bit of it is an interesting look into Naruto's character, to where someone asked him, if that ever were to happen, would you have what it takes to kill your son? And then Naruto responds with, I will do whatever it takes as the Hokage. And I will admit that is very, very interesting, because it goes to show you that even though Naruto is Boruto's father, he still has to put the safety of the village and the village's people first, because he is the also first and foremost the Hokage. And that is again a callback to not only Minato, but it also is a callback to Hashirama to an extent. Remember, Minato, even though he probably didn't want to put the Nine Tails in his own son, he had to, of course, think about the safety of his village. And he probably thought that, at the time it was probably the best decision, even though, for the sake of the village, even though it probably wouldn't have been the best decision for his son. Remember, at the time he was thinking as a Hokage, not as a father, because again, he had to put the safety of the village first. And the reason why it reminds me of Hashirama, because Hashirama himself said, if you recall back to the fight that they had, him and Madara, that, created the Valley of the End, Hashirama basically said that after he became the Hokage, that he would put the village above everything. Even like if anything presented a threat to the village and its people, they would need to be eliminated. It is my job as the Hokage, as the leader, selected by the people themselves, to protect them no matter what. Even if that threat, be they my brother, a friend, doesn't matter who it is, they have to go, because that is my job. And again, I like that. No, that's where Naruto is, because, and that's not saying that Naruto is a bad father, because again, I'm sure Naruto nowhere, like, he does not want to even think about killing Boruto, but at the same time, he was selected to be the Hokage, and he has to put the people above everything. So I did like that. So let's move on over to the conversation between Amado and Naruto, and this is after the Five Kage Summit is over. Now, the conversation that happened here, I thought was really, really interesting, because, and before I get to the actual conversation, I just want to mention something that that I'll go into a little bit later. Amado says that he talked to Sasuke earlier. Now, it was revealed that it was in context of Naruto's decision to have to kill Boruto. And Amado does say that after he talked to Sasuke, Sasuke said that he would have also been willing to take that step if that's what it took. And I'm sure, again, Sasuke doesn't want to do that because Boruto is his student. He did take him on as a student, but at the same time, he, like Naruto, promised to not only protect the village, but he also promised to protect the shinobi world. And if Momoshiki comes back, it would have been a threat not just to Konoha, but it would have been a threat to the world. So if that's what it took, even though that's not what he wanted, it would have been the right thing to do. And I'm sure Boruto probably on some level would have understood. Like, he probably wouldn't have wanted his body to be taken over by an Otsutsuki, and then Momoshiki going on to either destroy Konoha, kill all of its people, and then head on over to destroy the shinobi world. Remember, this is a guy who feels guilty of letting his body being taken over by Momoshiki, even though actually it's not his fault, and then stabbing out Sasuke's Rinnegan. Like, he still feels guilty about that. So imagine what would happen if Momoshiki were to take over and to kill a bunch of people in the village and possibly destroy a big part of it. Like, I don't think he would ever forgive himself. So I think on some level Boruto would understand the decision that Naruto and Sasuke would have to make at that point. And then after that situation, although again, when it regards to what he said when he talked to Sasuke, I want to talk about that a little bit after I talk about Code and Ada. So Amado basically talks to him and he says that, he also had a daughter, so he understands where Naruto is coming from, but he also mentions that she's dead right now. And also in terms of Amado, I forgot to mention this. Naruto was asked, like, do you actually trust this guy? But Naruto says, no, I don't fully trust him, which I did like. Like, it shows that Naruto has, like, he's not completely naive. Like, he doesn't fully put his trust in people. Like, he's still, it seems like he has developed a little bit as a character. So I like the fact that he's not fully 100% trusting Amado. I like the fact that he is actually, like, being cautious about him. I do like it, especially since a lot of people are theorizing that maybe Amado might be not, 100% good, I guess you could say. But anyway, Amado also basically reveals to Naruto that he has these pills. And what these pills are, apparently they're supposed to suppress the Byakugan. Now, I find it very, very interesting because, again, the Byakugan, it was revealed like it's like the most natural dojutsu of the Otsutsuki. Like, its origin is with the Otsutsuki. And the fact that he was able to develop a medicine that can suppress something that powerful, I mean, it shows you, like, damn, this guy's a lot smarter than we gave him credit for. I mean, seriously, this guy is, again, like, if you weren't keep if red flags weren't being woven in front of you before, like, this should be an obvious red flag. I mean, seriously, they need to keep their eye on this guy. So he gives him the medicine and he tells him that it could possibly suppress the otsutsufication that Boruto is going through. However, it seems like there are some side effects. One of them being that Boruto could go blind, and at worst case scenario, Boruto could die. Now, I just want to focus on the blindness because I don't think Boruto's going to die because, again, we still have to do that whole time skip and we still haven't gotten to that moment where him and Kawaki are fighting on the Hokage Stone monuments. So Boruto's not going to die. But I do want to talk about the blindness, and I know he's not going to go blind either. But I do find it very, very interesting that if he does choose to take these these pills, and if he does start to go blind, again, it would be very, very interesting because it would sort of mirror what happened to Sasuke after he first got the Mangekyo after his fight with Itachi. Remember, after his fight with Itachi and he awakened the Mangekyo, that's when Sasuke started to slowly lose his eyesight because that's one of the side effects of gaining the Mangekyo, which is you slowly start to lose your eyes, and you can only fix them by replacing them, either replacing them with other eyes, but if you replace them with the eyes of a blood relative, you could awaken the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and then you'll never go blind again. And not only that, but it seems like you'll also gain a more powerful version of the Mangekyo, which again is, but I don't think that's going to happen here. Although, if you think about it, maybe something like that could happen. Now, again, this is just a theory. This is just a working theory. But I do find it very, very interesting that we still haven't seen the Jogan in the Boruto manga. We see it in the anime, but we still haven't seen it in the manga. So I'm wondering, considering the fact that in that flash forward, we see there's a scar on top of Boruto's eye, I do wonder, and considering whenever Momoshiki takes over, he only sees through that one eye, I do wonder if maybe eventually someone, I don't know who it's going to be, but someone is going to attack him. And either it's going to be Boruto, some people have theorized it's going to be Boruto himself, or it's going to be Sasuke, or it's probably going to be Naruto, we don't know. But I do find it, but I am wondering if maybe sometime, maybe it's going to happen now or sometime after the time skip, Boruto will probably be under the threat of being taken over by Momoshiki again, and then someone is going to scratch out his eye. And then maybe he gets that eye replaced with another Byakugan. Now, who he gets it from, we'll have to wait and see. But the only ones I can realistically see giving him the spare eye would have to be a blood relative. And the only ones we know who could give him that eye is either Hinata or Himawari, which, boy, I mean, imagine how dark that would be if Boruto loses his right eye, and then Himawari looks at him and says, like, I'm going to take out my one eye and you can have it. Or maybe something's going to happen to Himawari. And then basically sort of like what happened with Kakashi and Obito, something will happen to her either at the hands of Ada and Code, And then as a way to sort of remember, and then maybe Boruto will also lose his eye, and then as a way to sort of remember her, he takes the one eye that's left. Again, that's if the same thing happens, or just one of them, maybe they're both intact. Again, he takes one of them and he implants them into his right eye socket to replace the one that he lost, and that's how the Jigan awakens. Now again, this, it is a bit of a stretch because, again, like I said, in the anime, Boruto does have it, but we still haven't seen it in the manga. In the manga, he still just has a regular Byakugan, or we just haven't seen the Jigan at all. And the only time we ever see his eye, his right eye, turn into a Byakugan is when Momoshiki takes over. So again, this is just a working theory, but let's move on over to Code and Ada. And I want to get through this real quick because this video is already starting to get a little bit long. We're 15 minutes in, and I still haven't even gotten to talk about Code and Ada, and I don't want this video to be longer than it needs to be. So Code finally lets Ada out, and Bug keeps trying to warn him about Ada's ability. Now, I talked about this in the spoiler videos that I did, but Ada basically has this ability where basically anyone who looks at her becomes immediately enthralled by her, to where she basically quote unquote steals their heart. And it gets to the point where even if they want to attack her, their body won't move. So I find this very, very interesting because it seems like the way it was depicted, like even like in their mind, they want to do something, but their body won't let them. Their body won't listen to them. So I do find that very, very interesting because, again, one of the things I hypothesized in one of my videos is that maybe in the future when we see the Konoha destroyed, maybe it was because Ada enthralled some of its more powerful Jonin over to her side, and she turned them against Konoha. And one of the two in particular I thought were Naruto and Sasuke, because I thought, how dark would it be if Konoha's two most powerful shinobi are all of a sudden turned against them? Think about that. Like that would be kind of sick. It would be kind of dark if you think about it. It would be really twisted on Ida's part. I said sick. I meant to say twisted. But yeah, that's one of her abilities. We also know about her other ability. Now, they don't actually say its name here in this chapter, if I remember correctly, but it is basically known as the Senrigan. And this ability basically allows Ada to project her consciousness into any moment in time. But there are some limits. For example, she can't look into the future, and she can't look into events that are prior to her birth. But she can look at everything that's happening now. And in this chapter, she uses this ability to find out that Ishiki is dead. She also finds out that everything Ishiki told Code. She also knows what he wants to do. He wants to find Amuro to remove his limiters so he can gain access to his full power, even though Code says, I'm kind of positive I can take them out as I am now, but I want to take precautions, which already makes him smarter than Ishiki. Sorry if you heard that before. Just got a notification. Let me just get rid of it. But yeah, so basically her ability is like it's pretty broken, or it is pretty dangerous. Now, granted, just because she knows something doesn't necessarily mean that she is technically more powerful. But again, her most dangerous ability is that anyone who looks at her is immediately enthralled by her. And we also find out in this chapter that the reason why, even after Jigen ordered these cyborgs to be destroyed, this is why Ada was spared, because Boro, who was supposed to get rid of them, looked at Ada and was immediately enthralled by her and then couldn't get rid of her. So that's basically why she's still here, and that's why he kept her. Which I do find it a little bit, which actually, now that I think about it, it is very, very interesting. Sorry, I'm only thinking about this now. But it was also revealed that her ability doesn't work on blood relatives, which thank God, but it also doesn't work on Otsutsuki members. So knowing that, and knowing that Jigen ordered Boro to get rid of them, that means that Amado never told Jigen what Ida's abilities were. Because if you think about it, if he knew about her abilities, and especially her limits, he would never have told Boro to get rid of her. Because he would have known that he would have been immediately enthralled by her ability. That means he would have probably gotten rid of her himself. But he didn't. So to me, again, like that might lend credence as to why, as to Amado saying that he initially wanted to get rid of Ishiki Otsutsuki, because if Ishiki knew about, or excuse me, if Jigen knew about her ability, then he never would have trusted someone else who is not an Otsutsuki to take care of her. He would have just taken care of her himself because he would have been immune to her ability. But Boro wasn't, so, and that played a factor as to why he kept her. So Amado never told her about her ability. And again, I find that very, very interesting, which again might raise some more red flags. Because maybe the reason why he wanted to get rid of Ishiki wasn't because he was thinking about the safety of the world. Maybe it's because Ishiki was in his way. Again, think about that. And Ada also basically uses her abilities, and she knows about what happened in the Gokage Summit. They know that she knows that they are after Code, and she basically says, "Don't worry, they'll never catch you." Unless she's lying to him, because I don't know. I mean, again, at this point, I'm not taking anything anyone says at face value anymore. So we're going to have to wait and see. Now, another thing that I want to talk about real quick, and I just wanted to get through this real quickly again, because we're already 21 minutes in, and I didn't plan for this video to be this long, I'm sorry. But one thing that I kind of want to talk about is, Amado did mention in his conversation with Naruto that he did talk to Sasuke earlier. But the only thing we know from their conversation is about what Sasuke would have done to Boruto. But I am wondering, is it at all possible that they talked about other things? Because it's just, to me, again, I do find it very, very interesting that not just in this chapter, but even in the earlier chapter, we still have no idea what the hell's going on with him. Like, he's the one character out of all of them after the fight with Ishiki whom we haven't seen yet. We've seen Boruto, we've seen Kawaki, and we've seen Naruto, but we still haven't seen Sasuke yet at all. Like, he hasn't showed up on screen at all. And to me, I can't help but wonder if maybe Kishimoto has something planned for Sasuke. I can't help but wonder that. Now, again, I could be 100% wrong. Maybe I'm looking too deep into this, but I will say that one of the things I hypothesized is that maybe, like, we know that they're going to go into a bit of a training arc. Now, whether or not that's going to happen off screen or whether or not we'll actually see it, but one of the things I hypothesize is that Boruto will probably want to ask Sasuke for training, but Sasuke won't be there. And here's why. Because it was stated in the earlier chapter that there's still a lot that we don't know about karma. We don't exactly know how it works. And during the earlier part of the arc, it was stated that the Byakugo seal was dated all the way back to the Sage of Six Paths era. And one of the things that I also hypothesized is that maybe the humans wanted to find a way to fight the Otsutsuki, so they developed their own sort of method that is similar to the karma mark, one where there's a seal put on someone's body that could give them an incredible boost in power and access to abilities once they open them. Like, for example, the Byakugo seal gives someone access to the strength of 100 seals, which allows someone to heal their body. Basically, any wounds that the body suffers just gets immediately healed. Just like what happened with Tsunade. And it also gives them, I think, an incredible boost in strength. So I do wonder if maybe, because the karma mark, again, because I hypothesize that the karma mark might be in a way linked to it, I am wondering if maybe, just maybe, Sasuke will probably talk to Sakura about this, and after hearing this, maybe he will probably go out to try and learn more about karma, not just as a way to probably help rid Boruto of the karma mark, but maybe in a way to sort of use them against Code, and not just Code, but probably in a way to fight I don't know how it's going to be, but probably in a way to fight the Ten Tails, but mostly in a way to fight Code, because we know that Code is incredibly powerful. And after they pretty much got, mollywopped by Ishiki, I feel like Naruto and Sasuke now are probably going to need to look into ways to get stronger if they really want to defend Konoha. Because even if Naruto didn't lose the cube, even if even if some way Sasuke gets his Rinnegan back, I feel like they'll still realize that, we had these abilities and we still got our asses kicked. We need to find a way to up our game. And also, one thing that I kind of want to talk about a little bit, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this, but what Ada's ability. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to mention this here. I'll probably just make this. I'll probably just use this. I'll probably just use this as an opportunity as a subject for another video. So I'm just gonna end this right here. This video's already gone on long enough, so I'm just gonna end it right here, guys. If you enjoyed this video, again, I'm sorry that it went on so long. I had to talk about everything I wanted to talk about. So if you like the video and if you enjoy these reviews, consider subscribing, consider sharing the video, and if you're new here, consider doing those things because they really will go a long way in helping support the channel. So with all of that said and out of the way, thank you so much. Again, remember to stay safe and take care of yourselves. Bye for now.